Hi everyone. So this is the introduction to the first line defenses. Remember, this is one of two parts of the innate immunity. So basically the part of our immune system that just recognizes self from non-self or plays a role in blocking foreign things from causing a problem for us. So in this particular part, I'll talk about what the general goal is of the first line of defenses, and then I'll describe the three different barriers that your body naturally has as part of its either anatomy or physiology. So I'll talk about the mechanical, the chemical, and the physical barriers that our body provides against foreign intrusion on it and give some examples of each. I'll talk, for example, about what makes the skin such a useful barrier for us. I'll also talk about the chemical lysozyme, what it is, what it does, and where you might find it in the body. And then lastly, I'll talk a little bit about antimicrobial peptides. Peptides should remind you of proteins. These are actual proteins that our body can produce that are antimicrobial, and I'll talk a little bit about that as well. So the first line of defense, the whole job of the first line of defense is to prevent the pathogen from getting inside of us. So it's to prevent that pathogen entry. So first line defenses attempt to prevent this pathogen entry, and there are three types. We have our mechanical, our chemical, and our physical barriers. Many of these, although they play a role in the first line of defense, their main function may not actually be part of the immune system, but because of their actual anatomy or physiology, they also play a role in the immune system. So this is a quick kind of summary slide, and I'll go into each of these a little bit more. So up at the top in green, we have mechanical methods that our body naturally protects us from pathogens. We have flushing, rinsing, and trapping actions, and this is showing the idea of the eye. We can have tears that would rinse microbes away. You might also think about things like urine in the urinary tract, of flushing the tubes that actually don't allow then for there to be any kind of microbial growth. And trapping action, sometimes what we'll see is even the eyelashes or eyebrows play a role in trapping. We also can have chemical lines of defense. And these would be molecules that can directly attack microbes or generate or make an environment that limits the survival of a pathogen. So some of these that we'll talk about, lysozyme is a chemical that is found in your teardrops. It's also found in mucus and saliva, and often it is found in breast milk. And it's actually chemicals. It's a chemical that can actually kill microbes. It can actually break up the cell walls of microbes. We also know that in our stomach, we have hydrochloric acid, that is a digestive enzyme in our stomach, but this also limits the growth of pathogens. And then I'll talk a little bit about these antimicrobial peptides. They're often referred to as AMPs, and these actually have the ability to insert themselves into bacterial cell membranes and actually break apart cells, and our body can produce these throughout the body. And then our last one is these physical barriers. Physical barriers that actually stop entry of a microbe. One of those that is a great example is the skin, right? We have a protective coating around almost our entire body that blocks microbes from getting in or entering into the body. So I'm going to go through each of these and give some examples. The mechanical barriers, remember, are the ones that rinse, flush, or trap pathogens to limit their spread in the body. Some examples of this would be tears washing debris or pathogen from the eyes, urine that can flush microbes out of the body. We also have saliva in our mouth that limits what the microbes can adhere to, right? It's very slick, wet surface. We have mucous membranes that often will trap microbes. And then we also have the mucociliary escalator, and this is cilia that line our respiratory tract that will actually beat like movement from the lungs toward the mouth through these ciliated cells. So if you inhale perhaps some dust into your respiratory system, you have cilia on the cells that will try to move that dust back up into the upper respiratory system, so you either cough or sneeze whatever it is that you inhaled out. These would all be considered mechanical barriers. We also have chemical barriers, which can directly attack the invaders or make the environment inside your body, in places, or on your body so inhospitable that pathogens can't survive in or on a particular tissue. So I gave the example of lysozymes earlier. These are found in secretions like tears, breast milk, saliva, and they can actually break down cell wall. We have hydrochloric acid in the stomach that causes such a high acidity in our stomach that most pathogens can't survive our stomach. We also have our skin, which even though it's a physical barrier, on the surface of our skin, it's often very dry, salty, and slightly acidic. This makes it particularly hard for some pathogens to grow. In addition, we have fatty acids in sweat and earwax that can play a role in actually breaking down microbes. And then lastly, we have those antimicrobial peptides, or AMPs. And these are actual proteins that are produced throughout the body that can destroy a wide spectrum, so many different kinds of viruses, parasites, bacteria, and fungi. And these are all, this with the mechanical as well as the physical, are all barriers that our body naturally has that protects us in the innate system. The last one I want to talk about is those physical barriers. And these are structures that can physically block a pathogen from entering our cells or entering our body. The main one that I think of is the skin as one of our most important physical barriers. The skin is made up of an epidermis on the outer coating that is made up of these tightly compacted dead epithelial cells. And so this is actually a water-resistant layer that makes it very difficult for a pathogen to get through. We also have hair, like on our eyelashes or our eyebrows, that are physical barriers. Even our fingernails and finger toes are, toenails are barriers, in addition to cilia that can actually trap things, and hairs in our nose as well that can trap things. So a quick checking in on the end of this, you should be able to name one mechanical barrier, one chemical barrier, and one physical barrier. And that is that first line of defense that your body has that can prevent pathogens from entering the body. If you have any questions, please let me know through email.